This is early in the morning before the sun rises in the Canadian winter. The clip I'm about to play for you may seem like it goes on forever. It's only 1 minute and 20 seconds long. Then I'll have a brief wrap-up after asking, what's the future of vegan activism, given, yet another funny little insight into the absurdity of DxE, of the state of our leadership, the state of our followership in general.
And did you go vegan instantly after that? Was it like immediate?
I went vegan when I was there.
When you were there on the set? Wow, you just couldn't take the idea of eating these little animals.
Yeah. I was doing, fish and eggs.
Yeah.
I still do eggs because we know the chickens.
Yeah.
And they don't get killed. They're pets.
Yeah, good.
And I can't get the protein that I want.
Sure.
And it's hard when you travel.
Yeah.
Very
no,
hard
that makes
to get
sense.
it. Otherwise, you're eating a terrible diet.
Sure.
But the thing is, I do enough so that I don't feel that I'm hypocritical by saying that the only thing that's going to work is a vegan diet.
Yeah. I knew Moby was an incredible musician. I didn't realize how deep he is. He's extremely smart.
Yeah, he's wonderful. I always admired wherever we go. Where we have to wear a suit. He's always got his sneakers, his kids on. And I have my leather shoes on. I think, damn, I get a pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
What was interesting about the protest is we were joined by small farmers.
Of course,
who didn't want this thing, factory farming, to happen.
Yeah.
Because basically it took their market.
Business away.
They couldn't afford to raise the pigs to compete with this.
Yeah.
And they thought that raising pigs like this was abhorrent. It was grotesque to do this. So real farmers don't agree with this system.
One general statement. We've lately had a number of ex-vegans, vegan detractors and dissenters from the movement complaining that somehow what's wrong with veganism is nitpicking, that somehow what's wrong with veganism is people who are 100% vegan criticizing those who are only 98% vegan. And one of the arguments in real life face-to-face with people I make in response to that is, what you call nitpicking very often in practice in real life is educational. Maybe for you watching this video, when was the first time you learned about the chemical called L-cysteine? I can remember a time when I didn't know what it was, when I'd never heard of it, and I didn't realize it was a food ingredient that was non-vegan. So if somebody doesn't take me aside and let me know, hey, look, you think these bagels are vegan. They're actually made with L-cysteine. Guess what L-cysteine is made of? Pork, hog hair, pig hair. Well, if you don't know that, you're not going to make that choice. Now, there are people on the internet who basically freak out and say, oh, you're nitpicking over every little thing. Well, one thing at a time, how do you expect, our culture, our industries of food production to ever disentangle from factory farming if we don't step by step, blow by blow address ingredients like L-cysteine, if we don't recognize there's a difference between vegan bread and non-vegan bread? And for most of us living in a crowded society, living in a big city, it really is as easy as not buying this bagel, buying a different bagel instead. And again, many people don't realize bagels, the majority of bagels are made with honey. So honey, L-cysteine, one little tidbit of information at a time, vegan to vegan. I think we do exchange information. I think almost all of us, especially in the early days of being vegan, when it came to trace ingredients, invisible ingredients, things we didn't know were around, we relied on and we benefited from other vegans nitpicking us to some extent. I've already made videos saying in a world that's 0% vegan, it is basically impossible to be 100% vegan. There are a few things I own that I know are not vegan, but it can literally be the glue that binds your books together. I used to work in the publishing industry. The glue that is in the spine of books, in most cases, not vegan. I'm not going to stop reading books. So we all live with these kinds of contradictions and examples, but fundamentally, veganism is about doing the best you can. And part of what we've got to do positively is share the information people need so that they can make the informed choices and they can do the best they can. It is somewhat hilarious, paradoxical, and hypocritical to see Wayne Hsiung, and yes, his name is Hsiung, not Hsiung and not Shang. Wayne Hsiung sitting down with and agreeing with and encouraging this celebrity when he says that he wears leather shoes, that he eats chicken eggs. He specifically says that his reason for eating chicken eggs is that he can't get enough protein, and that if he didn't eat chicken eggs, he'd have a terrible diet, terrible, unhealthy diet. Go back and rewatch. He doesn't speak very clearly. That's why I added subtitles, but that's what he's saying. And he also makes some kind of vague complaint about how difficult it is to travel when you're vegan. Yeah, it's difficult to travel in Antarctica. It's difficult to travel in Cambodia if you don't speak Cambodian. I've had to deal with language barriers as a vegan traveling all over the world. Most recently, you guys know, I was living in Yunnan, China. Everywhere I went every day, explaining to people in Chinese that I'm vegan, cope with the language barrier, cope with the cultural barrier, find whatever the vegan options are, including especially things like bread. Figuring out whether or not bread is vegan, definitely a big deal in China. But you do it. You do it because it's the right thing to do. And if you're a wealthy, white, English-speaking person who lives in California, who also happens to be a celebrity and some kind of part-time vegan activist, it behooves you to take that step and to actually be vegan, to actually meet the bare minimum requirements of a vegan diet, which includes not wearing leather shoes and not eating chicken eggs and not saying that it's impossible to get enough protein if you didn't eat chicken eggs. You hypocrite. He follows up this statement by saying he does just enough so that he doesn't feel like a hypocrite. Well, whether or not you feel like a hypocrite, I got bad news for you. You are a hypocrite. And no, if I was there with him in person, face to face, I would not say to him that he's a hypocrite. And I would also not say what Wayne says. Shockingly, Wayne agrees with him. Wayne says, yeah, makes sense. We've got that on tape. You can go back and watch it again. Super nonconformist, confrontational activist extraordinaire Wayne Hsiung agreeing that it makes sense for this celebrity to eat chicken eggs and wear leather shoes, apparently. That he doesn't agree with is clearly in the tape, to be fair. And we also get a somewhat confused and garbled statement from him that's from this celebrity representative that, retired former actor, however you want to describe him. We get a somewhat garbled and confused statement that there are good farmers and there are bad farmers, that somehow the real farmers, the ethical and moral farmers who are killing animals and producing meat, that they disagree with factory farming because it's abhorrent. And again, any abolitionist, any serious vegan, your hair stands on end when you hear that kind of thing, because it really sounds like it's setting the basis for quote-unquote happy meat, for organic, free-range meat produced locally by small family farmers to be justified or excused. So these are three different issues on which Wayne could have educated the guy. In the same way that I just said, I once relied on other vegans to tell me, oh, guess what? This toothpaste has some kind of ingredient in it that's not vegan. You've never even heard of it. And when you read the label in English, you can't even tell it's not vegan. This bagel, this bread, the glue in your books, whatever it is. Bit by bit, we gain this kind of knowledge and appreciation. We start to make strategic choices that make sense for us as vegans. It would not be nitpicking. It would not be inappropriate at all if Wayne Hsiung, instead of saying, yeah, good, that makes sense, if instead he said, no, look, I've got to tell you, it doesn't make sense. That's not a compromise any vegan ethically could put up with. I know you say that the chickens are happy. I know you say that the eggs come from a good home, this kind of thing, but you've got to know eggs are terrible for your health. They're terrible for the environment. They're not ecologically responsible. It's not ethically justifiable. And for someone in your position, for someone who's not merely a silent vegan in the background, it sounds like you very fundamentally don't understand what the word vegan means and what it entails. There's a nice way to say it and there's a rude way to say it. You can just tell him he's a hypocrite. You can tell him what he's doing is totally unethical. You can talk him through step by step the reality of where eggs come from and how they're produced, even in so-called free-range, happy, what have you. You can talk about the cholesterol content of eggs and what the nutritional value of eggs is and other sources of protein in the vegan diet. Sounds like this guy needs an education on how to have a balanced diet while traveling around California or whatever he's doing. Sounds like he needs some education on how to get a pair of non-leather vegan shoes too. Sounds like there's a lot of guidance and encouragement and information that could have been exchanged here. And instead, Wayne shares none of it. And why is that? This is really the most important part of the video. It's because Wayne Hsiung has become a fame whore. Direct Action Everywhere, DxE, has become PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. There's now no difference between DxE and PETA. None. Zero. PETA was created Their main MO is going around and selling out to any celebrity who will do a photo op with them, any celebrity who will possibly get them a newspaper headline. And I remember an example, but this is not a unique example. There were dozens of examples like this. But there was one example where they had an actress doing an anti-fur event with them. It was one of the actresses who was in the X-Men movie. So as is so often the case, it was a sexy actress, photo op. And she was wearing like thigh-high leather boots. She was wearing misremember. But she was wearing very high leather boots. And one of the journalists, it shows that the journalists in Los Angeles are now hip to this sort of thing, said, well, look, how can you be doing a PETA event? How can you be doing some kind of animal rights event or anti-fur event wearing leather boots? And the PETA representative stepped over to the microphone and said, this isn't a leather event. It's okay, but this specific event isn't opposing leather. PETA will do this, and Direct Action Everywhere, you can see this from Wayne Hsiung. He's recorded monologues talking about it. What they're all about now is exactly the same kind of photo op, ambulance chasing, headline chasing, newspaper chasing, fame whoring, just the pursuit of fame for the sake of fame and notoriety. He was so proud of himself that they did this event, this protest of having a young woman covered in poo, covered in animal excrement, covered in manure, however you want to put it. And they were so pleased with themselves that they managed to get some newspaper headlines. This is PETA. This is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. This is what PETA has already been doing for decades. And this is everything. Direct Action Everywhere swore they were better than when they were founded. They swore they weren't going to just be fame whores. They swore they weren't going to just chase headlines. They swore that they were going to learn the lessons of history. They were going to do this marvelous research and take the conclusions from the social sciences, from social science research, and they were going to pursue effective activism like never before. They were going to be more uncompromising than anyone ever before. They were going to pursue this, abolitionist fantasy. And guys, this is what it all comes down to. This is how the cookie crumbles. This is what's left of Wayne Hsiung's ridiculous dream. All I got to say to you is, don't be a part of it. If you want to know more about what's wrong with DxE, past, present, and future, there's a link to a playlist below this video. There's also a link to a channel called The Flemface. Ellie Fleming, that's her nickname, calls herself The Flemface. Thanks to her, I would not have made this video without her encouragement. You can click on that there. The future of the vegan movement is you.